Welcome, everybody, to this week's Manitoba Stronger Together Zoom meeting. Thank you for taking the time to join us. These gatherings are about more than sharing information. They're about fostering connection, courage, and creating a strong, informed community rooted in truth and respectful dialogue. The meeting format, we're recording. Thank you, James. But when we edit the videos and publish them, we take out all of the group shots because some folks just don't want to be on those videos, and that's fine. Manitoba Stronger is committed to maintaining a respectful and thoughtful environment for discussion. Our guest speakers may express viewpoints that are their own and not necessarily those of Manitoba Stronger, and that's perfectly fine. We value a diversity of perspectives and believe that open civil dialogue is essential to a healthy, informed community. And there was some interesting discussions in what we used to call, and I still call, the pregame show. And you know what, folks? I'm going to try to get somebody on to speak about that. I think that would be really interesting. With regard to our social media, I get calls and questions all the time about the social media accounts, and here they are right in the blog post. And you should have received the blog post Monday. And it's got the whole agenda. It gives a background of the speaker. It tells what we're going to be talking about. And here's all of our social media accounts. Now, to be honest, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook are probably our main ones. I do try to keep up with Twitter, so that's not bad. Gab is a little spotty, and Instagram's a little spotty. I just run out of time to be posting everything to all of these things. The Winnipeg Metropolitan Region update. This one I want to spend a little time with you on. As if you've been following my posts on social media, particularly Facebook, you'll know that over the last week or so, I've really ramped up providing you with information on the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, which includes a whole bunch of short videos taken directly out of their last two board meetings. So they had a board meeting a week or so ago, and then they had another board meeting in December. And I've taken a lot of comments or short reels out of those things, and I provided commentary. Now, over the last, those posts have been evolving, and over the last day or two, I put a lot of analysis in them. So you watch the video, maybe it's a minute, maybe it's 2 minutes, and then I give you a whole bunch of analysis in the commentary section. And if you've watched those, you will be shocked. If you haven't watched them, you should, because this animal is not dead yet. Now, just to give you what you're looking at your screen right now is the list of the people who are the municipalities that are still in. The town of Stonewall, the mayor commented at the last board meeting that they were thinking about leaving because they don't know what the program is and they don't want to get locked in, but they haven't made a decision. The RM of McDonald is out. The RM of Springfield is out. The RM of Anthony, was it Rockwood or was it Rosser? They
Rockwood?
Yeah. So Rockwood's voting, I think, tonight or tomorrow night about whether they're going to be in.
Oh, are they? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have a meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah. So they're voting tomorrow night, and he spoke at the board meeting, that the mayor, Mr. Taplin, he spoke at the last board meeting, and he essentially was saying, "I got nothing. I don't even know what this is. How can I stand up for it?" And that was the sentiment from quite a few of them. Cachet is voting tonight as well, and their interim mayor was saying the same thing. So there's a lot of stuff going on there right now. But what I want to spend a little bit of time with you on tonight is something that, before we came on the air, posted a blog post that I had not intended to post until after this meeting. But since it's up there, and I think it's a really interesting thing, we're going to go through it quickly. But again, you can go to our blog post. It's already up, and you can read it and think about it. But, throughout, I hope you can see, you should be able to see it pretty good. I got it blown up pretty big. This article has to do with how the NDP government turned the Winnipeg metropolitan region into a time bomb. I've been pondering this for a while. Why did things go the way they did? Why did the NDP, when they came out with the Freedom Bill, why did they put that change in the regulation that came into effect at the municipal election this year? Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, we're gonna go through this quickly, but there's a lot of detail in this post, so you can follow along, hopefully, on your screen. So, as you guys recall, the the um, the whole process about a regional plan was introduced. I think it was. I'm going by my memory. The dates are in the blog post. I think it was like 2005 or something, and it was bounced back around and forth, and they were doing some stuff about it, and it started to heat up big time. Oh, sorry, and that in the original legislation, which enacted this regional planning body that they called the Capital Planning Region, was voluntary. You could be in it, you could be out it, you didn't have to be in it. And then what happened was in 2021, the Progressive Conservatives introduced a bill into the legislature, which was at the time it was Bill 37. So in 2021, the PC government introduced Bill 37, which established the Capital Planning Region, and which is now referred to as the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, or the WMR. They repealed the Capital Region Partnership Act. They created a mandatory regional planning authority, and they required municipal development plans for all municipalities and bylaws to be generally consistent with this regional plan. So they expanded ministerial and municipal board authority further over top of the mural municipalities. Now, at the time when that went for a vote in the legislature, this won't surprise you, every conservative MLA voted yes for it, and every NDP member voted no for it. Now, that's pretty common. They can never admit that they're doing something good or bad, so they just vote. No matter what it is, they vote against it if they're not in government. But keep that in mind, though, because one of the reasons this matters this time is that the unanimous NDP opposition strongly suggests that their objection to this Bill 37, or the creation of the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, was substantive and not just partisan. Typically, the NDP has a tradition of messaging around local decision making and rural consultation. So that's how this WMR got down the path that it's at. 2021, Progressive Conservatives. Now in 2023, the election happened, provincial election happened, and the PCs lost and the NDPs won. Now, the NDPs formed the government in 2023, but they didn't touch the WMR. The WMR was in the process of starting of approving their Plan 2050, and they were starting on their process of those two public consultations that they were going to have in the summer of 2024. One was in the city of Winnipeg at the Canad Inns, and people started, whoa, what's going on here? And then the second was scheduled for Niverville, and 1,000 people showed up, and it was a debacle, right? But keep in mind, the NDP never tried to stop this. They never tried to repeal this. They just let it go ahead. So after Niverville happened, you'll remember that Rob Canoe stood up there and he said he was going to pass the Freedom Bill and make it so municipalities could opt out if they wanted to. So in the fall of 2024, Bill 41 was introduced into the legislature. And unfortunately, that bill never got through the process before the ledge stopped. Like, the ledge operates in sessions. And when a session ends, any bills that are on the floor, any bills that still haven't been passed into law, get washed away. And when the legislature starts up again, they are reintroduced. So in the fall of 2024, the NDP introduced Bill 41. That was the Freedom Bill. But it got canceled that year until the next session. So then in the spring of 2025, last year, they reintroduced the Freedom Bill as Bill 4, and it passed and went into law in June of 2025. One of the things you need to understand is that the Freedom Bill did not repeal the WMR. So what happened then is that in this bill, this new bill, this Freedom Bill, the NDP just didn't dissolve the WMR. They didn't pause the WMR. They didn't restock the people who were in the WMR or who wrote the Plan 2050. They could have done all of those things. But what they did, this is the brilliance of what they did. So in the Freedom Bill, and it's all there in red in front of you, it says that they set up requirements to get out, which are permanent, and then they set up transitional requirements. So in section 10.2 that you're seeing on your screen right now, it says that during the transitional period, that is from now until the municipal election, which is October 28th, 2026, this year, from now until then, if a council of one of these municipalities wants to get out, all they got to do is pull together a resolution letter in council, send it to the minister, and then the minister must make the regulation necessary to let them out. In other words, and that's this section here, my Moses, it says, and this is very important, that if before the election, October 28th, 2026, a council sends a letter to the minister must let them out. So it's a if it happens before the election and you say you want to be out, you have to be let out. Now, this is an interesting thing. So after the election, October 28th, 2026, the rules change. A whole bunch of other things come into effect. So after the municipal election, there's a mandatory public hearing that a council has to have if they want to get out. They got to do, I don't know what it is, 30 days or 60 days announcement. They have to listen to the public. They have to record that meeting. They're going to have minutes of it. There's a restrictive 180 days where if they don't do it within 180 days, they're stuck. And then if they do that and they submit they have their public hearing, they decide they're going to exit, they send the minister the letter, the minister doesn't have to let them out. He only has to consider letting them out. Now, this is interesting. Now, the next really interesting thing is under this same Freedom Bill, the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region doesn't have to resubmit their plan until January 1st, 2027. That's after the municipal election. So these councillors, these municipalities that are trying to decide whether they want to get out or not, don't even know what the plan is. And they won't know definitively what the plan is until 2 months after the rules change. Now, now this is great though, because you got to ask yourself, what the hell is going on here? I'll tell you what's going on here. By doing what the NDP did, by wording the Freedom Bill the way they did, the NDP doesn't, who don't want to have this WMR legislation for whatever their reasons are, they don't have to make a decision. They don't have to repeal it. If they repeal it, there can be a big fight, there can be a legal challenge, but they're forcing the municipalities to make the decision to opt out prior to the election that's in October and prior to them actually getting the revised plan 2 months later. So with the municipalities facing this, since they're not going to know what's in the plan until after the election when the rules change, and because they might not be able to get out after the election, you'd only be a fool to not opt out. So the NDP are kind of forcing them to opt out. Now, there's a bunch of fools out there, in my opinion, who aren't opting out right now. But when you understand what's going on here, how could they be so stupid? Because you'll never even know what in the heck the rules are, what the hell the plan is until afterwards. Now, if you've watched my little video is going to last a little while. You'll see that on those board meetings. They're all panicking. We don't know what's in the plan. And then the executive director goes, "Oh well, we'll try to have you something by March." You know they're not going to. And now the board is starting to cry to the minister that they want a year's extension on getting their plan out because they're not doing it. They're not getting it. So the NDP doing this, it's actually brilliant. It's evilly brilliant. So they made this WMR thing somebody else's problem. The first people that they made it a problem for is the municipalities. See, the municipalities have got to opt out because why would you stay in when you don't know what it's going to be, right? And so anybody who doesn't opt out before the election, they're stuck with it after the election. And the other cool thing about this, by forcing the municipalities to make a decision, you know from our reports every week that RMs are dropping out, and dropping out. The plan here is they have so many municipalities drop out of the WMR, they just cancel it because the WMR ain't working. Nobody wants to be in it. Those bloody PCs, they did this thing, it never worked out, makes the NDP heroes. Now, so it neutralizes any political risk to the NDP over a very unpopular plan, and it neutralizes the risk to the NDP provincial government of trying to legislate out or repeal the enactment of the WMR. So they've kind of erased any risk to themselves there. They've piled it all on the municipalities. So what municipality in their right mind isn't going to opt out before the election, the municipal election? Even those people who opt out are still on the hook in the municipal election because they supported this bloody thing for the last 6 years. They spent millions of your dollars on this thing and they've got nothing to show for it. The rural municipality of St. Clements is voting tonight, and according to the mayor, they're going to pay the dues, the WMRM dues this year. It's $18,000, but they've been paying that for 6 years along with all of the other RMs. So they've spent millions of dollars, and in their last January board meeting, they don't know what they got. They don't know what the plan is. They don't know how to sell it. If you've watched those, you know that. So it's become a municipal problem in the election. The NDP have washed their hands in it. And guess what? There's a provincial election coming up next year. So October 3rd of 2027 is a new legislature election. And so guess what's going to happen? This is so cool. It's so brilliant. So if the NDP lose the provincial election next year, the progressive conservatives get saddled with this crazy thing where these municipalities, in order to get out, have to petition the minister. They have to have public hearings. They got to do all this kind of crap, and then the minister's got to make a public decision as to whether they let them out or let them in. So you can see if they let them out, then the NDP will be saying, "Holy smokes, you sure blew this because now you're letting them out." If they don't let them out, the NDP will say, "Wow, that's not the democratic process." So if the NDP, by the way, win the legislature again next year, again, they've got no risk. They've got no problem with this because they gave everybody a chance to get out. They made it the minister's choice afterwards. So again, if the plan 2050 that comes out in 2027 is crazy, the NDP will point the finger at the PCs and say, "We gave them the opportunity to get out. Look how great we are." So this is brilliant. I've been struggling with what this was all about and why that freedom bill had this crazy clause that came into account during the election. So Bill 4 wasn't a freedom bill. It was a trigger. It was a suicide trigger bill that they put to the PC's head, and the PCs have lost. The other people that have lost are the municipal mayors and reeves who were on that damn board for the last 6 years. And they're trying to distance themselves right now from that Plan 2050. But keep in mind, they were on the board when that Plan 2050 came through, and they voted for it. And then all of a sudden, when it became a hot potato, well, they got nothing to do with it. So you keep that in mind when you vote. And now I've got a lot more in this blog post. And again, it's already available on the site. And the other thing, thanks to Rosalie, that I put in here, you're looking on your screen right now. I made a quick reference, 1-page timeline. So you can just quickly go through this to see what the hell we're talking about. So I thought this was important because it wasn't adding up to me why they had done things that they had done. Now, we're getting behind the time right here, so I'm just going to go back to my previous screen, and then we're going to go on to Deb's news. And hopefully at the end, if we've got time, you guys got questions, hold them to then, and I'll stay on a little bit later and answer the questions. So Deb, you want to do your news of the week?
Okay, so it was another busy week. Western Standard actually ran a column on the operation of the CBC comes to light and how Ottawa Briefing cast CBC as a tool to bolster social cohesion. There's that propaganda. The Manitoba Wildlife Federation, Manitoba Justice Minister says province won't support federal gun buyback program. Counter signal, Epic Times, the federal courts of appeals upheld the Justice Richard Mosley's earlier decision on the Emergency Act, Ottawa's use of Emergency Act to clear convoy protests unjustified. Del Bigtree ran a very informative video, The Truth is in Our Blood, as well as Florida's discovery of mercury and other heavy metals in baby food. And last but not least, Liz James Tannulaire, Introduction to blessedbyhisblood.com. Biologic medicines are the fastest growing market, with 10 to 20% of biologics made from human blood. The Bureau, Sam Cooper, warns of influence from former PM Jean Chrétien's Beijing Montreal business networks predicted the types of outcomes unfolding under Carney. Winnipeg Sun, a good column on the Portage Regional Health Center was ready for opening, and that was around January the 17th. It's probably officially open now. Winnipeg Free Press, man convicted, then acquitted of Candace Dirkson's death in 1984, charged with recent sexual assault in Vancouver. Slay News, surge in Canadians seeking healthcare abroad over government's euthanasia push. YouTube, for My Canada, MP Andrew Lawton was asked some questions for clarification on Bill C9 and the impact on religion. People calling directly to the Liberals minister's office have received significant pushback. Also, Rebel News covered the town hall in Saskatoon over this very same topic. Epic Times, opinion by David Redmond. For those not familiar with the name, retired Lieutenant Colonel David Redmond spoke at the National Citizens Choir in Red Deer in 23. His opinion piece in Epic Times came across as an alert. The U.S. has a national security strategy, whereas Canada's. Children's Health Defense hits APP with the RICO suit over fraudulent vaccine claims. And for those that don't know what RICO is, it's the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. And last but not least, Winnipeg Sun, Pembina Valley to open first hospice house in region. What is unclear in this article is whether MAID will have an influence on this facility. So our number one pick of the week was the counter signal Epic Times on the Federal Court of Appeals on the Emergency Act. Our number two win of the week was YouTube for My Canada. MP Andrew Lawton was asked some questions for clarification on Bill C9. And our number three story for the week, Epic Times, opinion by David Redmond and the National Security Strategy. An honorable mention is Manitoba Wildlife Justice System. Minister says province won't support federal gun back. Sorry, my dog is acting up here.
Deb, you want to just continue with your helpful hints?
Okay, yeah. So I thought this was interesting, and I do recommend that people do their own research further, but it's the topic of cholesterol and vitamin D. And cholesterol has, in my opinion, received a bad rap over the years, and they've been handing out statins left, right, and center to bring your cholesterol levels down. But you know, we need that cholesterol to get the vitamin D going in our body, and we need the vitamin D in our body to do a lot of things. One of them is to aid and support the brain so that we're not suffering from SADs and different depressive disorders. I highly recommend that you guys have a look at it. But what I have done is, because I'm optimistic and I see summer not very far away, like once we get over January, I think it's just a hop, kick at us and a stump to get over there. I've included in my article this week homemade sunscreen. It works well. I use it for the first little bit in the spring when I'm outside, and then I don't bother for the rest of the summer. I like my vitamin D the natural way. So have a look at it. It's not very hard to make. It makes 8 ounces at a time, I believe. Or for me, it made a couple of jars. And have it on hand or put it in a small jar so that you can carry it in your purse for you ladies, and take it from there. Anyway, have a good week, and we'll continue on with vitamin D next week.
Thanks, Deb. I'm going to go right into the interview right now. Well, everybody, I'm happy to have Ken Lee on again. He's been with us before, and we're going to continue along in our series of speaking to folks who have had past and probably present and future political involvement, just so that we can talk about, you know, the process and what was involved and how did they feel about that and how do you go about it and those kinds of things. So with that, I'm just going to, Ken, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and let folks know who you are and why this is relevant to you?
Yeah, my name's Ken Lee. I have had a lot of experience at all levels of government in elections, school trustee, city council, mayor, MLAs, and MPs. So I've been through the whole gamut. The municipal elections, I believe, have been I think they're the most important elections at the end of the day. And I think it's really proven that with the manner in which the federal government managed to use the municipalities to bring in their Plan 2050. And I think that provincial and federal political parties dismiss the municipal level and don't get involved at that level, except the NDP do. Oh. But the NDP and get involved in municipal elections, city council, and heavily into school trustee situations. So I think over the last probably 5 years, whatever it's been since we've been involved with the WMR and the City of Winnipeg Transportation Plan 2050, it's become extremely clear to me this is the level of government where the people, the taxpayer, is most affected. Yeah. And the one thing that politicians don't seem to realize is that there's only one taxpayer and he pays everybody. So taxpayers, people like us, we're confused as to what level of government is imposing what on us. And if you take a step back and look at it, it's really the municipalities have the most effect on our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, and they're probably the least flashy. You know, in our pregame that starts at 6, there was a whole lot of discussion about this and that and the federal government and whatnot, and it's hard to make inroads there. But when it comes to the municipal government, and you look at and at least for the 17 rural municipalities that are in the WMR, if you go on our website under the WMR, you'll see how many votes all of the current representatives got, and 30% of them got 0 votes. So do you want to try to attack the system or influence the system from that weakness, or do you want to go and try to do it on the federal government level? It's more effective to hit this, and I think that's essentially what you're saying, right, Ken?
Yeah, I think there's several things about the municipal elections that people need to be aware of. I think the first critical thing, if you're thinking of running, is that there's no party politics at the municipal level. So you can be your own guy. You don't have to, toe the party line. And you get individuals, I think a recent example is Patrick Allard, who wanted to be with the conservative government, but he had ideas which weren't acceptable to the party, however, very acceptable to most conservatives, and yet he's not going to be allowed to run under that banner. So that gives you an example that if Patrick was running at the city level, he would have nobody to answer to. He could say what he wanted about any topic that he wanted to. So I think if anybody's interested in running at the municipal level, I think that's a free pass. You don't have to toe to any kind of party line. You can bring your own thoughts and your own philosophies, etc., into your campaign. I think that's the biggest difference. But on the other hand, it's also a very big problem, because if you're running for city council or school trustee, you don't have a quote unquote machine behind you to tell you how to set up a campaign, how to get an office if you're going to get an office. Where do you go to find volunteers? Who do you need? What type of volunteers do you need? What positions need to fill? So you're starting to try to run a campaign without any support. And it's a daunting thing. And I think a lot of people, and when we were interviewing somebody to run in the school trustee position in Louis Riel, and we ended up with Sandra St. Cyr, was a fantastic candidate. Other people came and wanted to, get involved. And when they heard what was involved, they just said, you know what, I'm not ready for this. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I don't have a campaign manager. I don't have all these different things that you kind of need. So I think it's a great idea. What you're doing is to put together, some framework that somebody can, come in to get some ideas where to start. I think there's the main thing is finding somebody to be a campaign manager, because you can't manage your own campaign. And then the second thing in the municipal level, like, how do you get known without a party backing you? Is it lawn signs? Is it bus benches, billboards? Like when we ran we helped Gordy Steves in the mayor contest. It was very difficult to cover the entire city, first of all, at that level. And then the second part, how do you reach people? How do you get known? And that's why incumbents always win. Like, they always win 2 terms. And I think the statistics will show you it's hard to knock out city councilors. And I'm sure it's the same in rural municipalities. Once they get in, it's hard to get them out. And so the question is, what can be done if you're a newbie trying to get into it? However, the good news is in Regina in 2025, the mayor lost his second term. And I think something like 80% of the councilors lost. It's shocking. In Calgary, the mayor lost after 1 term, and they turned that council into a slight conservative majority, I think 8-7. Again, unheard of. It's city politics. Is that going to happen in Winnipeg? I'm most familiar with Winnipeg. I think it can. I think with some of the things that Gillingham has done in the last, well, especially last 18 months, but since his term began, he's shaky. That the bus thing is the one that's going to be the killer for him. I mean, that's been such a disaster. And just the general thing, I think Marty Gold calls it Gillingham's war against cars. I mean, everything he does is to try to get cars off the road. And if you look at the bike paths, you look at the way they're cleaning the streets, the salting. I mean, there's a lot of issues that could cause an incumbent to lose. And so I think if you're thinking of running, maybe not for mayor, but if you're running at city council level, I think these guys are vulnerable for maybe the first time in many, many elections.
Yeah. And I think outside of the city of Winnipeg, it's a completely different animal. You look at 30% of those folks who are mayors and councillors got 0 votes last time. They were unopposed. And even if you look at the ones that did get elected, they got elected with 200 votes, 87 votes. If you have a big family like I do, you can kind of wrap it up. So it's not that daunting of a thing in the country. And Ken, you kind of gave me the transition into our training program already, and I won't do that because we're not done here yet. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about, because one of the things that this is about the human connection. It's about the person who's running. And in your experience, What usually motivates a person to run for office? What should motivate them?
Well, that's an interesting question. Like, I think for some people, it's a job, and they actually say that in the city of Winnipeg, a city council gets paid more than an MLA. So it's like over $125,000 a year. So some people that would be the best job they ever had in their life, to get a position like that. That could motivate them. A lot of people have one issue, and that would cause them to run. Um, Again, for school trustee, it was the parental rights thing for Sandra St. Cyr, and she's still carrying on
Yeah.
her 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 cause, and very successfully. Um,
Yeah, she was on, just Ken, so you know, she was on here 2 weeks ago, I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
yeah, I know. She said she was coming on. Yeah, she's doing a great job with the Louis Riel School Division. They started off trying to be nice to her, and then they realized that that wasn't going to work. She wouldn't stop. Like, I give her so much credit, like the way she battles against these people that are just so blind to what they're doing, or I don't know if they're blind or not blind, but yeah, I don't know what necessarily motivates people to run. I know there was a by election, and a fellow named Braden Mazurkowicz ran, and he had a lot of, I mean, his campaign I thought was tremendous. He brought up all the issues. He didn't hold anything back, and he was straightforward, and he didn't have any political correctness. He was just trying to say, this is wrong. It's got to be fixed. And it was kind of a rebel type of campaign, but it was a campaign that I really enjoyed watching. Like, I thought he was doing a great job bringing out his points and knocking on doors, trying to get to people. And that's the thing. Like, how do you get people to come out and vote for you? There's such a low voter turnout. Like you say, 87 votes in some areas you get elected. And in this by-election, I'm not sure I think in Sandra's city council, I think it was under 20%. Yeah. Not city school trustee. I think it was under 20% turnout in the by-election. Yeah. That's outrageous.
Yeah, school trustees typically get elected by 10% voter turnout.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Remember when they had the Brandon trustee election, I think it was last year, 10%. Out of 35,000 voters, 3,500 showed up. So I think in the city, it's going to be very different than out in the country. Well, out in the country, you're somewhat limited to what you can do, but then again, the number of people you're dealing with is much lower. So, you know, a lot of we had two counselors on from the RM of Springfield a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about door knocking. And I think one of them said that he knocked on every door twice, and the other one said he knocked on 85% of the doors. How?
That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are dedicated. Yeah.
Yeah.
This might sound like a weird question, but what's harder, do you think? Winning the election or surviving the campaign?
Surviving the campaign might be harder than winning the election. Like, winning, well, it's a battle. Like, you need some kind of organization. You need to have a plan in place on what you're going to do to get your name out there. I think it's more of name recognition.
Yeah.
So if I was advising somebody, I would say, if you got to raise some money, and I would spend my money on some things like bus benches, because they don't get vandalized. If they do get vandalized, the bench company comes and cleans it up for you. Signs get stolen. In the last provincial election, we lost, in the campaign I was in, we probably lost 300 or 400 signs, and we got them on camera how they did it. There was this SUV would pull up at 11:30 or 12 o'clock at night. Some guy would run out with a hoodie on and a machete. They chop the sign in half, take the two poles out, and run back to the car. They were in and out in a minute. Like, it was amazing. They had this system down pat. And then we'd find all the signs on the bottom under the bridge or something. We'd find them the next day. And I heard that a union was paying them $5 for every sign they brought back, cash.
Well, fundraising on a municipal campaign, particularly in rural municipalities, is even more interesting because, first, it varies from municipality to municipality. And we heard from I think it was the RM of Springfield, that your max to spend as a counselor is $6,000, and your max to spend as a mayor is like 12 grand, something like that. And
yeah, not very much.
No, and those candidates we were talking to had spent 3,000, something like that, on their campaigns.
it makes it hard to compete if you're not an incumbent, because it's about name recognition at that level, right? Especially at school trustee level. Like if you could, you couldn't even for $6,000, you couldn't even do a mailer for a city councilor in your riding. I
Well,
don't think that'd be enough money.
that's why I think here in the rural areas, it's knocking on doors is probably your most effective thing that you've got to do, which is a skill in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's difficult. It's a lot of people don't like doing that. They find it, if you like doing it, you're great at and you're good at it. But a lot of people they won't do it just for that reason. They won't run because they don't want to knock on doors and disturb people. And, there's a jet game on and somebody's knocking at the door. They don't want to come and talk to them. Right. So you get doors slammed on your face. Yeah. So,
yeah, I guess
I give people credit to do that. That's a hard job.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is. But you don't have, you don't have a lot of choice. You can do some social media stuff with whatever. The other thing that I wanted to mention on that is one of the things that we're planning on doing is allowing folks who are running to come on this platform and speak to their constituents. We let them know that you're going to be on here, and we can go through a process like this so they get face recognition and name recognition.
Yeah, that'd be great.
The other thing
I think the social media thing, Ken, that you just mentioned, social media is probably the only way you can get some exposure at this day and age. At that kind of budget, it's probably going to be social media. In the last federal election, we did a lot of social media. Yeah, I think that's going to be the way to the future.
Yeah, and most at least on Facebook, I know a bit more about Facebook than I know about the others, but on most rural municipalities on Facebook, the residents have their own page. Like, and where I live, there's one called St. Clement's Community, and then when in East St. Paul, there's one in West St. Paul, and you target if you're in there. And we have, I think one of the roles that Manitoba Stronger can have here is that educating folks as to what the process is, where they should be spending their time, which we've created a program for, and then giving them a platform to come and speak and assisting as best we can. Not that we're taking sides here, but we'll, if you come and you want to talk on here, you can do it. We have a sign up sheet on our website now for people who are thinking of being candidates. You have to be careful here because you can't say you're a candidate until you're registered, which won't happen until 6 weeks before the election. But that doesn't stop you from now getting your stuff together. You can't raise funds. You can't say vote for me because I'm running. You can't do, but you can go out and say, look, I'm thinking about running, and these are all the problems that we've got. And so you can do those kinds of things. And Ken, I think some of the reason about what you were talking about incumbents having an advantage is that the newbies don't start early enough. When they announced that you got 6 weeks to election, or what was the last federal, was it 4 weeks or 5 weeks?
It was 37 days.
There you go. Yeah. By the time you get your papers in and whatnot, you got 2 weeks to campaign and raise money. So you got to be doing it now. You can't be raising money again. And that's all in our training course. But you can be out getting your face out there and letting people know who you are.
Yeah. They don't try to stop you from getting people to pledge. That's nothing. That's a nothing from there, or they try to stop that too. I don't know for sure how they administer that. Like at the municipal level, they don't audit the city itself doesn't audit the returns. It's just a Wild West. So you can do whatever. I mean, you can. They don't. There's no real. I don't think there's any controls over it, as far as I could tell. I know I filed returns for counselors, and I never hear anything back. Like nothing. They don't call like Elections Canada. I'm still fine. I finally finalized the one I was official agent for, and like 6 months, and they're still questioning like an $18 bill. Like, I don't think this one's. I'm serious. It used to be worse. Like the materiality is an issue. That these guys they'll go for any $10 item. If they don't think it's right, they say you can't claim that.
Well, that's an interesting thing you say there, because I've always felt that the legislative the provincial legislature elections are kind of wild, wild west, because you have certain parties that get all kinds of goodies from unions,
Yeah.
and that's never claimed as in-kind donations, is it? And I'm
No.
not aware of any. I can't remember, but I think the premier's expenditures in the last election were like, according to his audit, was like 42 grand or something. That's not even possible.
Yeah, that sounds pretty crazy. I don't know what he did with that, but like in the last election, we had a couple of whistleblowers come to us and say that, like the MPI timed their strike to coincide with the election, and they had all these people, and MPI, the union, prepared brochures attacking each individual uh, MLA or candidate from the Conservative Party, and one of them said that they were getting paid $20 an hour in cash to knock on doors, and it was being paid by a union, not being paid by the party. So that's free, and that there are things like people putting on fundraising events. The food was paid for by an outside third party. There's all sorts of rumors like that flying around. The NDP have been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
That's the way they go.
Well, again, in municipal politics, there's not that, to my knowledge, there's not that much of it. The numbers are too small.
Yeah, there's not as much there.
Yeah. Is there any closing statement of encouragement or caution that you'd like to give our members? Because a bunch of them are considering running this time around.
If they could feel free to call me if they have any specific questions about anything. I wouldn't discourage anybody from running. I think it's really hard to be a candidate, especially in the municipal elections. I think it's hard because you don't have that support of a party machine, if that's what you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a daunting task. Like, where do I start? What do I do? I mean, I think it's really difficult. Even if you're working, with experience within a party, and you realize, well, I don't have that support that I would normally have. It's a hard thing, and I understand people being concerned about that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're offering to folks. If you're going to run an XYZ riding, we probably have members in that riding. We can make introductions for you.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, Ken, thank you very much for coming in. I'm going to migrate on to the next part of the meeting, which is I want to introduce the training session. But again, Ken, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I hope you're running for something this time around.
No, I'm not running for anything.
All right, Ken. Good night. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right, folks. The last part of our thing. I've got just a few minutes. I'm going to quickly go through the program as best I can, at least get you familiar with where it is, and then we'll spend some more time on subsequent meetings. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and what you're looking at right now is, hopefully everybody goes, oh yeah, that's the homepage. That's the homepage of Manitoba Stronger Together. And you'll notice up here where my mouse is, you know what, I'm gonna just show myself what's going on here. There we go. So right up here where my mouse is, you'll see that it says Manitoba Municipal Election here. Now, in addition to that, there's a button you can push here that will take you directly in. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of different ways to get into this system, but I'm going to take you through the front door, and then I'm going to take you through the back door, okay? So if you're going through the front door, you would click the Manitoba Municipal Election here, 2026, and hopefully that loads up nice and quick. There we go. And it comes to this, and first off, it talks to you about what Manitoba Stronger is doing. It gives you a bunch of other information about how the legislature works, etc. But the magic buttons are here. So if you clicked on I'm a voter, it'll give you information about you being voting. But we're going to go to the candidate program. So we click on I'm a candidate, and it should take us to the candidate page. Here we go. And this button here, if you click it, it will give you a charter, which is an explanation of why we're doing this, what Manitoba Stronger will do, can do, and won't do in the election process. This is the button that you push to get into the actual learning portal, and I'm going to come back to that. But under here, if you just keep paging down, you're going to see there's a bunch of little discussion blocks about, understanding the role that you're seeking, counselor or mayor, clarifying your motivation and all that kind of stuff. And you can look at that later. But now I'm going to go to the actual learning program, which is under here. You click on the learning portal. And if you've never been in this before, it won't come to this page immediately. It's going to come to a sign up page. And all it wants you to do is sign up using your email address, and you create a password. And what this does is it controls access into this actual learning portal. The other thing it does is by controlling who can go in and go out, etc., when we do revisions to the program, because we're going to be constantly revising and upgrading the program, then you'll be assured that you've got the actual program. That's why we haven't made this available as a download PDF. So when you clicked on that last button, it will take you to a sign up. It'll only do that one time. You sign up, assign your password, and then it'll take you into this. And each time after that, it will remember you and it will just let you straight in. So I'm just going to page up here slowly. And so it welcomes you to the learning portal. And then the lessons are divided into modules. So you got module 1, what are you really running for? Module 2, how municipal government works. Module 3, budgets, taxes, and spending control. Module 4 is law, ethics, and conflict of interest. Now, before everybody falls asleep and thinks, holy moly, I'm going to show you it's in bite-sized pieces. Module 5 talks about institutional capture. You're going to kind of have an understanding of all this stuff. Some of you will need more, some of you will need less. Module 6, campaign readiness. Now we're getting into how do you get yourself ready for the campaign. Module 7, campaign planning. And then we talk about compliance with the laws and readiness. And module 8 are practical field guide. What it is it shows you how to do a resume. It'll show you how to do a brochure. It talks about how to do interviews, and we'll get into that. And that's probably the one everybody's excited to see. You know what, we'll go here first. So what you do is when you want to go into one of these modules, you just click on this image and it takes you into the full module. And you can see that in module 7, everything's split into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different sections. You'll see that they're all labeled. And you'll see also in all the modules, there's a self-assessment worksheet that you can check out. What did I learn? What do I know? What do I have to go back into? So let's just take this one. We'll just click on this. And so now this is a typical lesson. And you can see I'm just going to page down. What is that? A page and a half? So don't be overwhelmed by the fact that there's, I think, 50 some odd of these lessons, because each one's like a page and a half. It's like you sit down for half an hour or 20 minutes and you can read it through, and it's all in normal everyday language. So there's nothing crazy in here. It talks of this particular lesson. You can see you may not campaign before you register. You may not fundraise. And then it tells you about what you can do and what everybody else is doing and all this kind of stuff. And then you'll see there's some navigation buttons here. So if I push this button, it'll take me one lesson back. If I push this one, it'll go forward. This goes back to the table of contents, and this goes back to the module table of contents. What do I mean by that? Click on this, and it takes us back to module 7 with all of the selections here. And I'm going to click on this just because. And now I'm going to go back to the table of contents, which is, I hope I'm not going too fast. If I am, guys, let me know. I'm going to go down to module 8, which I'm calling a practical field guide. So we click on module 8. And hopefully I don't have a problem with the internet. Here we go, module 8. So this is, how do I prepare a campaign CV? Campaign, door-to-door campaigning. What do you do? How do you do it? What do you say? And this one's handling media and interviews. And so you click on this, and it actually goes in and it tells you, this is what you should do. This is the time of day you should do it. This is what you should be saying. This is what you shouldn't be saying. See, this is a very practical guide. Ken Lee was talking about that. Well, most people don't know how to do it. You do this, you go through this course, you're going to know how to do it. Now, we're like bang on time. And so I'm going to take this back to and I see you've got your hand up, Deb, and that's just great. I'll be right there. I'm going to go back to the table of contents. There we go. Deb, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a statement. I've been poking around and looking in there. And even if you're not running as a candidate, it's good information so you know what to expect of the candidate that may be running in your RM. And hopefully, if you're in a bigger RM than we are, you don't have to deal with nepotism.
Good point, Deb. And I'm glad you've been kicking around in it because we talked about that earlier. And I was wondering how you were making out. I did do a bunch of upgrades on it today, and I will be doing upgrades ongoing basis. So if folks see something, a button doesn't work, or there's a typo, or what does that mean? Let me know. Email me. James, go ahead.
So Ken, you were commenting on how you thought it was brilliant of Wob Canoe to put that stuff in past that point, right?
Yep.
And then we talk about the ledge and how bills are on the table and all of a sudden the ledge is over. So those bills go away and have to be reintroduced. So how is it that Canoe can sort of bamboozle the next potential party ahead of schedule? That just doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
is that just me or
no. Yeah. If you're thinking like a citizen, they're thinking like a politician who wants to get in again, and anything they can do to throw mud on the opposition, that's what they're going to do. So if you put that filter on, then it makes perfect sense. And when I say it was brilliant, I mean it's devilishly brilliant. You know,
no, I get that for sure, but I just didn't think that anybody. I thought once a party changed hands, anything that the previous party may have put in place can just be absolved.
oh no, this isn't this is a piece of legislation now. So when Wab Canoe presented the bill 4, which was the Freedom Bill, this in the spring of 2025, it was only a bill until it got passed. When it got passed, it actually altered the Planning Act, so it became law. So that bill 4 is now gone. It's going to be something else. Next time you see bill 4 in the next session, it might be reducing the price of diapers or something. Who knows? So it's written into law now, and the next government could repeal that law, absolutely. But if they repeal it, they're setting a precedent for the subsequent government to repeal all their laws. And they're setting themselves up for lawsuits for people like citizens or groups that will sue them over repealing the law. Now, that may or may not go anywhere, but they're wanting to avoid all that mess, right? So that's why the NDP didn't get rid of WMR just on their own. And that's why this whole controversy about Plan 2050 was kind of a gimme for the NDP. And they've taken full advantage of it with this Freedom Bill.
Thanks, bud.
Yep. Anybody else got any questions? That's it. My goodness. Either I did a really good job or you guys are asleep. Rosalie, was there anything in the chat that I should answer?
I don't think so, but I just had a comment as Ken Lee was talking. It seems to me, of course, it's going to be, there's no illusions that it's difficult to campaign.
Yep.
But I do think, I was chatting with somebody privately, that this is a really good time to run because of the support that will be behind everybody. I think that's really significant to say. Everybody should realize that this, the wheel of support is going to be really is going to be significant across the board. Doesn't matter what municipality you run in. And I really encourage people to step forward and not expect the next person to do it. You should do it. And there's going to be a great amount of support.
Yeah.
I just want to say that.
Yeah, and we need to use this platform that we have to support. Like Manitoba Stronger Together is nonpartisan. We don't have any money, as you guys all know. But what we can do is, if you fill in that input form, and I guess I didn't really show you the input form, but there is an input form in there. And if you let us know and you fill out, your campaign and what you're thinking about and all that, and ask for help, once we know what municipality you're running in, we can talk to members who are in that municipality to help. And so you can use this platform to connect with people, to get support. You can take the course on your own. It's really quite simple to use and learn a whole lot more about it. And knowledge, once you have knowledge about something, it's less scary. When you don't know what's in the black box, it's scary to open that black box. But if you go through that course, you're going to know a lot. And if you use our resources in order to get connections, I think that's going to go a long way.
I just want to say one more thing. I know there's two people that want to say something. I'll say it really quick. That whole idea of getting the door slammed in your face and all that stuff, I could give you tons of examples. I used to be in real estate. You get used to it and then you get good and then people don't slam the door in your face anymore. So that's one thing. But I was talking to somebody else a little while ago who was campaigning in one of the municipalities with a friend, and she was quite intimidated to start with. And after a while, she was having a really good time. It was just like, okay, let's go get us some more. So you kind of get used to it, and you get kind of you get tough pretty quick. It's fun.
Well, I mean, you know that when Mark Miller and oh gosh, oh my goodness,
Mark and oh shoot, now I'm gonna help you.
Andy, yeah,
Yes.
when they came on, remember they both said they enjoyed that. That was the most enjoyable part for them. In any case, sorry, John Ladd, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, how's it going with the CBC? Have you had a meeting yet?
I forgot. I got an email from them just this morning or this afternoon. And they said, yep, you're in, Ken. We want to have a meeting. I can't remember what date they wanted to have the meeting. They want to have it at the CBC offices and start this process. So I haven't responded to them yet.
I think I won't elaborate, but I think I told you my experience with Brody Fenlon a couple years ago.
Yep.
When he responded to one of my emails. But are you familiar with the Garbage Warrior?
No, the Garbage Warriors?
Yeah, the Garbage Warrior. He's been around for a long time. He's in New Mexico. He's an engineer.
Yep.
And he had a lot of zoning issues because he's building houses out of reclaimed materials and like foundations out of tires and all that. So what he did was he actually somehow, I don't know if he got on council, but he got into a suit and went to all the meetings and he said, what you got to do is climb up there and get them from inside. So maybe that's what you can do, Ken. One more thing. The CBC on their YouTube, they allowed comments. Did you see that?
I didn't, but that's really unusual for them.
Yeah. Breaking news: radon gas causes cancer. Breaking news: the CBC is breaking the news.
Well, I'll tell you a really disturbing article I saw about them just yesterday. There was they're
all disturbing, but anyway.
Yeah, they did an article about MAID. And they were interviewing people that said they couldn't get MAID at the Catholic hospital and that the government should be forcing them. And CBC completely took that side and said it was so horrible that people couldn't get it at the Catholic hospitals and they should be forced to have to do it. There was nothing on the other side that they presented. So anyway, hopefully I haven't got a whole lot of hope, but I'm more than willing to give it a shot. Ken, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment on Rosalie's comment about, I think you're providing that support that's currently missing, that you're filling a void that's never been there.
Yeah. And
they tried it in Calgary at the municipal level, and they brought support similar, but they did it through a party concept. Yep. So I think that's great. Just one other comment, practical comment. People don't know at the door what level of government's punishing them at the particular time. So if you can make a provincial issue and make it a municipal issue, they'll make vote for you, thinking that you could help them with something that you really can't. But all the issues get sort of mushed together. Like I said, there's just one taxpayer. We'd knock on the door and you'd say, I'm representing the Conservative candidate, and they would go, well, I hate Trudeau. I said, you know what? You have to vote Conservative then, and I'd just leave.
Well, we give them a lot of guidance on door to door in there, what they should say, what they shouldn't say. And probably the biggest thing that we say is listen. You tell them that you're there to listen to their perspective. I'm running for the municipal council and I'm here to see what are the issues that you've got. Anyway, we got a whole section on that. All
I'll
right.
just tell you one anecdote, just one quick anecdote about knocking on doors. A friend of mine had took out a female door knocker with them, and they went to in Elmwood. They were knocking on doors, and the guy came to the door completely naked, and so the woman was kind of gasping, and my friend John kind of said, she says, "What should I do? What should I do?" He says, "Well, ask him the question." She goes, "Okay, will you support the Conservative Party in the next election?" The guy standing totally naked, so she asked him the question. So anyhow, he
That's
said no,
hilarious.
and he said no. But there's a lot of stories like that.
Oh.
So door knocking can be entertaining as well.
Oh,
You could have just said, "Are you cold?"
Yeah.
Anyway, everybody, that's a wrap. Like I said, if you get a chance, go in and take a look at this program, because in the next week or so, probably next week, we'll announce that we're, what day we're going to start holding sessions on it. And we'll start at the beginning, and maybe we'll talk at the beginning if people have kind of looked through it. Tell us what module you'd like to go to first, because you don't have to start at module 1 and module 2. It's set up so you can start anywhere in the program. So if you're most interested in how to do a CV or how to do door knocking, we can start there, and then you can jump somewhere else. So it'll become a lot more clear as you start to kind of poke your way around the course. So everybody, have a great week. Thanks for coming out and listening to this auctioneer talk and try to get 4 hours worth of content into 60 minutes, or I guess we're at 70 minutes now. Anyway,
Thank you, Fred.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
See
Love
y'all.
Good night, everybody.
Stay safe, stay warm. God bless.
Yes.
Good
yeah.
night. Good night.